Hi, I am Dana K. White. I am here to talk about decluttering. I'm here to answer your decluttering questions. I'm hopping on a little late or a lot late, and I won't be able to be here for the full hour, but I'm just going to take questions from those of you watching live. So this might be your chance to get your question answered. I know sometimes I can't get to all of them, but I am the author of Decluttering at the Speed of Life. I'm the creator of the No Mess decluttering process. I teach how to declutter in a way where you don't pull everything out, you don't make a bigger mess, you don't ever put yourself in a situation where you can't stop at any moment, because we only make progress, never do things setting it aside to deal with later, all that. Thank you for letting me know you can hear me. I appreciate that. I also a couple of things for future lives. I'm not taking questions from that today because just for time's sake, but as far as prep work for me, you can go to askdanakWhite.com. If you're watching this after it's live and you would like to submit a question for a future live, you can do that, because I know not everybody can hop on when we're live. Also, if you're interested in becoming a patron, I have some lovely 800 or 900 now patrons who support what we do around here, and there are perks to that. One of the perks is getting to be part of a super secret group where people share their progress and encourage one another using the language that I use here, speaking this decluttering language. So you're going to go in and say, hey, this is a decluttering issue I need to solve, and people are not going to come at you with all the different many ways to do things. They're going to be talking about it according to this way. So if you're ever interested in that, you can check that out. Okay, let me look for some questions from y'all. Yay, Laura is folding her laundry. Oh, thank you. Do you mean like Trinidad? Like Trinidad and Tobago? Isn't that the way you say it? Or Trinidad, Texas, because that's also a thing. So here we go. Oh, great question. What if you already drug everything out? Help. Okay. So I think this is a very common issue, especially for someone who maybe, and I don't know where you are on this, but I know that there are people who find me because they are in the midst of that big frustration of, oh no, I tried to declutter and somehow I've made everything worse, right? So you find out about the no mess method, or you knew about the no mess method and you thought this time will be different, or she doesn't know what she's talking about, or whatever. And you went ahead and you pulled everything out, because that is the way a lot of people think you have to declutter. That's the way a lot of people teach you have to declutter. I don't, because I tried it so many times and it was never successful for me on the long term. Okay. What you do in this situation is deal with the stuff using the no mess decluttering process with the stuff that is out. Okay. So that stuff is your most visible stuff, because now it's been pulled out. It's not even in the space where it was originally decluttered. Grab your black trash bag, your recycling bin, if you have one, and start looking for trash and recycling. The same thing that you would do if you were looking at this space and using the no mess process that you would do instead of pulling everything out. Look at the stuff that is already pulled out and just say, I am going to, deal with the trash, deal with the any recycling that's already there, if you have a routine already established. The reason that we do trash, remember, is because it gets you started. It gives you something to look for. Even if there's no trash, there's always trash. Even if there's no trash, it helps your brain start adjusting to everything you're dealing with. Because what happens is you pull everything out, and it's overwhelming to look at a messy space anyway. But if you pull everything out, you have that moment of, oh, it's empty. I love the look of empty. And then you turn around and it's a worse overwhelmed feeling than it even was when it was in the space, right? So that trash step is the first step. That's the stuff that just doesn't deserve to be there. It needs to go on out. Okay. Don't put it off for, I'll deal with the trash later. No, get that out of there, because every piece of trash that leaves, now this space is a little more clarified. It's a little more defined, and you're able to see what it is you're dealing with. Okay. And then get all the easy stuff out. What in this pile that I wish I would have left in there, but not made a pile, but whatever, I'm in the situation I'm in. We're just going to embrace that, right? What in this pile is easy? What has an established home somewhere else in the house? I'm going to take it to that home right now. So do that and follow the steps on the process in this space. Now, one of the issues with pulling everything out is then life happens and you end up shoving everything back in the space. And I can't guarantee that's not going to happen to you, because sometimes that just does. Like we pulled everything out, we weren't able to finish, and I have to step away, or somebody's coming over and I've got to get it all off the floor so it goes back in. Every piece of trash that you've removed, every easy thing that you've removed, every donation, everything that you've done in the process, if you do have to shove everything back in because life happens and that's just how it goes, then you're going to be better off because you will have gotten rid of some other things. And then the next time, go back through it, follow the process this time. Okay. Let's see. Will you please tell them that your methods follow precisely have kept my home clean and tidy for years? Yes. They have kept Kenneth Bailey's home clean and tidy for years. Okay. And here's what I love. And I think that I think the reason that Kenneth is saying this is that it is so tempting to kind of to hear the method and go, oh, that makes sense. I bet you it's different for me. Or, oh, I bet you this situation's different. This time's different. Oh, this, and kind of sort of follow it, which I think it's great. Do whatever you want to do. But I can guarantee progress and only progress, but only if you follow the method the way that it's written. Okay. And not kind of, sort of, but actually pulled everything out, so really follow the method. And I love the way that Kenneth stated, precisely, like following it exactly, it will guarantee progress. Question: friends want to look at stuff before I get rid of it. Honestly scared I might grab things too. Have you experienced this? Maybe in the beginning. Honestly, I would really resist this. Okay. Like, instead of showing them things, you could say, if you would like to come pick up my donations and take them to the thrift store, feel free. And then you can go through them. But the whole value, one of the values of the donatable donate box is that I'm never going to look through it again. I am making a final decision. And the beauty of it being a donation is that it's leaving. I don't care what happens to it. I have chosen to not care what happens to it. So in this situation, that is the offer I would make. I would say, okay, but you have to come and pick up my donatable donate boxes and explain, say, because I put stuff in there and I don't want to look at it again because I don't want to second guess myself. Sometimes people, they're not thinking through this the way that you are, but if you explain that to them, most people will understand that. And so just be very clear that I can't look through it again, but you are more than welcome to take my donatable donate box. I don't sort things. Just say that. Say, I don't sort because it's important for me to just be able to get it out as quickly as possible. So there's going to be stuff in there that you're not going to want, but if you want to take it all, feel free to go through it. Most people are going to say, yeah, never mind, right? But anything that slows down the decluttering process and makes it more complicated I just have to say, no, I can't do that, because that is the kind of stuff, anything that's like I'm thinking of, like, water flowing and then there's something right here and then everything gets caught on it, like all the rubbish and everything gets caught there and it turns into this big, like, that's the way I think of it. It's like, we've got this flowing river of stuff leaving my house. And then here's this person who wants to look through everything. And it's like, and then everything just kind of gets caught and jumbled. I have to say no. And what I do is I blame it on myself. I just say, I can't go back through things. This is the only way that could happen, is for you to take everything and you get it to the donation place for me. I'm getting stuck throwing out my garbage right away. It's because I have to parade it past all my apartment neighbors. I feel so vulnerable vulnerable about the amount. Any tips to help with this? This is hard and I get it. I mean, I never want to say to people, get over it, because I know that there's always more layers to it, right? But I do think that being as consistent as you possibly can of every single time that you have the ability to get rid of trash, getting rid of trash. And I don't know if you mean like, it's in a dumpster because it's in some sort of a shared situation, or if it is in a, like garbage pickup or whatever. Getting it out is so, so important. And I do think that people, I'm not going to say, oh, everybody understands, because they don't. There's always jerks, right? Jerks exist. But people do understand that there are times and periods where you get rid of more stuff. Now, I'm not sure what situation you're in, if this is something where you've already felt judgment from neighbors. And, I think I said this last week. Sometimes the same people that criticize me for having too much stuff were the same people who then criticize me for getting rid of so much stuff, and so and those are the people I just have to go, if I can't please you, then I'm not going to worry about it. Right. So I do think it's thinking through that. If I will get this stuff out of here, that's when I'll be able to keep my home under control. That's when I'll be able to feel confident in being able to handle my home. And this is just kind of part of it. It also might be a matter of, looking up some additional abilities. You can't, you can't put stuff in dumpsters that aren't yours. It's not legal. But maybe there's a trash pickup kind of service that you could look up. I know where I am, I'm pretty rural, but I can think off the top of my head, I know of 2 people who, that's one of the things that they do, is they do trash pickup. Okay. Like they do that kind of thing. So maybe even just, I was going to say phone book. Do they make those anymore? I felt like I heard that the last one was being made, but search in your area, maybe your zip code, for trash pickup and see if there's something. Maybe a one-time thing would be a little less painful in this. Let's see. Looking for more questions. If you've already answered a question, if you've already asked a question, maybe go ahead and re-ask it with 3 question marks at the beginning, because then I love that y'all talk to each other, but it helps me identify which ones are the questions. Dana, would you explain your, y'all are making me laugh today, because Kenneth said something similar, like, can you just tell people this again, because this is the thing. What Sonia and Kenneth were saying was, this is the thing that really did, it did the thing that Dana said it was going to do in my house. And so they're wanting to make sure you hear this. So let's talk about it. Would you explain your take it there now method to all the lovely people here? It was a game changer for me. Yes, take it there now is the key to the no mess decluttering process. We go one item at a time. We make a final decision about that item and we act on that final decision. Sometimes take it there now means sticking it in the trash bag, because that is its final destination. Okay. Yes, obviously the trash has to leave, but you know what I mean? Sticking in the donate box, that is its final destination. If it has an established home, or if I establish the home by asking myself the first decluttering question, where would I look for this first? When I know the home, I take it there now. Okay. I don't set it aside to deal with later. I don't make neat little piles of things that I'm going to take to all the different places in my home. I don't, I take it there now. Here's the thing. It is the least fun part of this process. It is the part of the process that is so stinking irritating. But as Sonia said, it's a game changer. It changes everything. I get emails from people all the time who say exactly this. I didn't want to do it. I resisted it forever. I thought, surely there's a better way. Surely my way's got to be better. I constantly have people comment on it, but well, here's what I do because I don't want to take it there now. And I'm like, that's great, but there is no way to guarantee progress and only progress unless you take it there now. Okay. When you take it there now, that item is done. It's done. It both is outside of this space where you're decluttering. It's gone. It's not something that has to be dealt with later, especially if you have to stop in the middle because life happens. Some kid starts bleeding and you have to step away. You're able to stop at any time because you don't have things waiting to be done later before you can be finished. Okay. You're only making progress. But it also, taking it there now, makes you face the reality of the space where you say you would look for it first. If I just say, where would I look for this first? I would look for this first in that cabinet under the microwave. Okay, I'll put it there later. I have no idea what is in that cabinet under the microwave. I don't know if that cabinet is stuffed completely full with no room whatsoever for this. I don't know if there are 17 others of exactly this item. I am not, because in my mind, I don't remember that. I just think of that cabinet and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it's fine. Right? But if I take it there now, I am forced to face the truth about that space. And that is how I ultimately change my home, is by taking things to the place I would look for it first and then dealing with that space, dealing with the reality of that space. I'm not going to completely declutter that space, but I'm not going to make it any worse. I'm going to take something out and then that will make room for this item. And then that space is no worse off than it was before. And this space I was really originally decluttering is better, which means my whole house is better. Where if I just go, oh, I'll go do that later, and I set that there, my house is no better because I still have this item not in a real home. Okay, that got me a little preachy. I'm sorry about that. Okay. Next question. I recently removed all the toys from my mom's house. It has tripled the amount of toys in my house. Woo, I know you are stressed out. They're attached to the toys. The toys we have were already within the container concept. How? Okay, so let's deal with where you are right now. And you say the toys we have were already within the container concept. So you have embraced that reality. The toys that you've brought in from your mom's house, item by item, one by one. Well, actually, first what I would do is just make sure, kids, is there any trash here? Is there any easy stuff that we already know that's actually not a toy that can go, so that we're only dealing with what we have to deal with here. And then it's item by item, one in, one out. Okay. Attached or not, it has to have a space, right? And when working with kids, it is so helpful to embrace the reality of that. And you said they were already under the container concept. So your kids knew that things had a place to be, right? So every new item that comes in, every new item that comes in, it's where would we look for this first? Okay, we would look for it on that shelf or in this toy box. Okay, well, there's no space for it there. So what are we willing to get rid of for this? And then the kids say, oh, I can't get rid of anything. You say, oh, I'm so sorry. Well, then this will have to go. No, that can't go. Oh, okay, sure. But what are you willing to get rid of so we can, have the room for it? Oh, I can't. I'm like, oh, I know. Well, then it has to go. Like it's not it has to go. Don't you understand? Blah, blah. We don't have to do that. We just keep going through the container concept and one in, one out for every single new thing that came in, which will mean that a lot of the new things that came in, they're not going to make the cut either, but it's a long and painful, not fun process, but it truly puts things in their real, actual home and gives them a real space. Okay. I'm just checking on something. Okay. So I don't need to add more containers. What question had you asked, Erica? Was that you that asked about the toys? No, you do not need to add more containers. I mean, if you have tons of open space and there's room for a container, it's not like you can't add another container. But if your house is at its, container limit, then the only answer is one in, one out, right? Okay. Having a really hard time getting started today. How do you kick yourself in the pants when you really don't feel like it? I don't kick myself in the pants because I don't respond very well to that. I don't like excessive cheerleading or excessive positive encouragement. Is this bad? I was a cheerleader, okay? And I was into it big time. But like people saying, you can do it. I believe in you. I'm like, yeah, I know I can do it. I just don't want to do it right now. I'm like, it just does not work well for me. So what I do is the least that I can possibly do that will actually make an impact. So it's much more of a cynical way that I approach this kind of feeling. And I say, I don't want to do anything. Okay, I'm going to do the literal least I can do. That's it. Because obviously you want to do something enough that you're asking me on the internet, right? So you do want to do something, but you just don't feel like it. So grab a black trash bag or whatever you have to put trash in and say, that's all I'm going to do. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to go to a visible spot or where I'm sitting right this second. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start throwing stuff away. If it's trash, I'm not saying throw good stuff away. It drives me bananas when people are like, she just said to throw away all your stuff. I'm like, did I say that? Because I didn't say that. I'm sassy today. I'm sorry, y'all. Anyway, so just start throwing away obvious trash and be like, this is not going to make any impact. And maybe it won't. It will. But you'll have done something. Okay. So it's that looking at what is the smallest amount of things that I could do that will actually make real progress. What you don't want to do is go, okay, I don't feel like doing anything, so I'll just pull everything out of my kitchen cabinets and then I'll deal with it later. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster, right? But throwing away trash, that is a real thing, okay? And then if you are like, okay, maybe I could do something else. Say, okay, what's one easy thing that I could go take to its already established home? Okay, what's one more easy thing that I could go take to its already, one at a time, item by item. Got it? Okay. Let's see. What is this? Doing the literally least I have heard described as a micro yes. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. How to best declutter baby clothes. I've saved bigger clothes for them to grow into and smaller clothes that are sentimental. They all feel so useful or loved. Yes, container concept. So what space in your home do you have for clothes that they'll wear in the future, but that they can't wear right now? Okay, what space in your home do you have to devote to that doesn't use up space for the things you actually do use and need right now? Okay, if it's this shelf up here, okay, what fits on that shelf? A tub, whatever. Hopefully you already have some tubs that you could use. So that tub is the container, and you say, okay, out of these things that are bigger that they can't actually wear yet, but I know they're going to need them in the future, wouldn't it be great if they're all in one spot anyway? So I'm going to put my favorite ones into this container first, and then when it's full, that is the limit, right? As far as smaller clothes that are sentimental, I do the same thing. And I know that this is where the whole, where would I look for it first question is incredibly helpful and also counterintuitive. Okay. With baby clothes that were just sentimental, the temptation is to go, okay, what's the best thing to do with these? Where's the best place to keep these? Instead, I ask myself, where would I look for these first? I look for my kids' baby clothes on a shelf in my closet. That's where I look for them. They're just there. They're not in something special. Literally, especially two of them, the guys, the little baby thing that I kept would probably barely fit on their foot, right? Like this is purely sentimental, but that's the place where I would look for it first. And because I think of that and I go, I'm going to take it there now, I don't want a big pile of baby clothes there, right? And so it just kind of naturally sorts out. It could be in a tub in that space. That's fine. But it's like, what space do I have for purely sentimental stuff where I would look first for this baby stuff? You know what I mean? Like that's not taking up room for stuff that we actually need. And then let that space be the limit to how much that stuff you can keep. And thinking of it that way helps a lot. Okay. Having some interesting chat here. I'm trying to decide if it's good. Okay. Let's see. Hi, Dana. I have designated places for some things. I know I can find them there, but I don't really like where I put. Wait. If I ask where I'd look for it, it wouldn't be there, but I'm lazy to start over. I wouldn't start over. Don't think of it as I have to do. Just as you go, start going with the place where you would look for it first. Okay. Accept that is its best home, as opposed to this perfect spot that you just said is not where you would actually look for it. Okay. So if you ask where I'd look for it, it wouldn't be there. Yeah. Okay. So just item by item, as you're decluttering a space, start doing that. It'll start to change how you think of things. All right, here we go. Dana, your methods are so useful for me and my kids. Whenever I get overwhelmed, I hear do the dishes or throw away trash, and it gets me unstuck. Oh man, it absolutely helps so much just to know what to do first. What will actually move the needle? Okay. Mice. What do I do? My home is behind a farm, recovering hoarder, partially disabled, too much stuff to catch mice and clean fast, overwhelming. Where do I start? Okay. So first of all, I need you to know that pretty much everybody gets mice at some time. Okay. So don't be like, oh no, I can't believe this happened. Just know it's a thing. It's life. It happens, especially if you live behind a farm. This is just how it goes. Right. So, what I would do is, if you can tell where they are, I would put traps or whatever you're comfortable doing in the line that they're coming in, and then focus on those spaces as, getting like, it's time to really get rid of trash. And maybe there's some things that now will look like trash to you because that little feet crawled over it, right? And so really declutter those spaces down where you're seeing the evidence of them, those spaces down to as minimal as you can possibly do. And then, but also know that sometimes you have to call somebody and have them come help with that. And they may know better how to do things. Let's see. I don't like these where I can't see my face. For a family emergency, once things settled, I stayed with sister, worked the Dana K. White with the Slob Comes Clean method, go decluttering. I have been working with her via weekly texts for a few weeks. She fought the take it there now concept. Love it. Then the light bulb came on. She wanted to work on linen. She purged over 2/3 of sheets, towels, tablecloths, napkins, etc., keeping what fit her container. Thank you, Dana, for your persistence with teaching your method. Okay, I absolutely love that. I'm just telling y'all, this method works so well in helping other people. It works even better if you've applied it in your own home, so you really fully believe in it and understand it. But it works so well with other people because it's non-confrontational and it's non-judgmental. Don't forget I have to do a little advertisement here, right? That I have coaches trained in my method. Okay, declutteringcoaches.com is my website. Everyone listed there in the cute little map feature where you can click on your state, or we also have international coaches as well. You can click there and find out if there's somebody in your area. If there's not, most of them also do virtual coaching online. So if you need somebody to guide you through the method, there are some buddies who I've trained. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Were you ever embarrassed when dating to have your boyfriend come over? How can one get over the embarrassment? Okay, so my husband and I dated when I had graduated from college, and we lived, okay, so I had graduated from college, I lived with my parents, and then I went to Thailand for 2 years, and we started dating right before I went to Thailand, and then we got married 20 days after I got back, after I'd been there for 2 years. I did come home for Christmas and stuff like that in between, and he came to see me one time in Thailand. But so I'm saying that to say that he didn't really know what he was getting into. And I do remember one time, and I don't know if it was during the summer when I was home in between my 2 years of teaching in Thailand, or at some point when we were dating, he did see my bedroom and was like, and I remember him being like, oh, because I would think it was like, ankle deep at that point. And so was I embarrassed? Of course, but also I don't feel like I can completely speak to this because I wasn't necessarily in a situation where he was actually seeing, my apartment or anything like that. I guess my best advice is to be so adorable that he doesn't even care. I don't know. I know I'm laughing, and this is not a laughing situation for sometimes when you're in these situations, but I mean, I would have been totally embarrassed for him to have seen my apartment in Thailand. But the beauty of this is you know this method now, right? And so this is a time where you can really just be like, what's more important to me, my stuff or the ability to live in my home the way that I want to live without being embarrassed? And so I'm going to get rid of my stuff to make it easier. Because remember, the less stuff you have, the easier it's going to be to keep things under control. So I don't know if that was a good question answer at all to that, but let's see. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's see. I love this question, but the reality is that I don't have the time because I create the methods and the content. Now, as you know, I have done sessions in the past with patrons, people who've, I put up the patreon.com/Assad comes clean. It's also in the description of the video, but I will do sessions with them that's going to be used on YouTube or that's going to be used on the podcast. But that's the reason I started declutteringcoaches.com, because I know there are people who need someone to coach them through the process. And when I'm writing books and doing all of this, that's not something I can do, because I would have to make it make sense. I'd have to charge more than it would be worth somebody paying. So, yeah. Okay, let's see. Got other people giving good advice. Best thing for mice, block the entrances. A good pest control will go around outside the house and plug the entrances, and then you can trap the mouse. Yes, it's awful, right? It's just awful. But I just want to make sure you know that you are not the only one who's been through that. Most people have. Your advice has helped me get my stuff together. Thank you. I have 2 toddlers, so super busy. Gardening season is upon us, and I want to make time for that, but without having my house fall apart. Advice. Yeah, the beauty of knowing which things make the biggest impact is that it frees you up on all this, to do the other things you want to do. So if you're wanting to put time into gardening, say, okay, I'm going to really stick to the bare minimums. I'm going to keep the dishes done, which if you do the dishes every day, you already said you've got your stuff together, so you already know this, but like doing the dishes every day means they don't take that long to do. Do a 5-minute pickup every day. If you'll do those 2 things, that will keep the house from falling into complete disarray during this time. Okay. And I mean, it happened to me. Somebody the other day in one of our Patreon Zoom calls was saying how she's just like, I cannot believe how much time I've freed up in my life by getting this stuff under control. So really focus in on the things that make the biggest impact. And those are dishes and a 5-minute pickup. Let's see. Looking for more that have question marks. Any ideas for getting through a mental block to finish the dishes? It is hard for me physically, but I've gotten within 1 or 2 items I've done, and I can't seem to get all of them done. And then there was another one. The few times I have, it hasn't lasted for more than 2 or 3 days. Okay, so doing the dishes doesn't last. That is the frustrating part of it, right? So the thing that I would highly recommend is, and this is hard because I know you have the physical frustration here, on that it makes it more difficult. If you are able to catch up on doing the dishes at some point, or just do as many as you can every day, doing them every day is the thing that keeps them from getting overwhelming. Okay. It's the thing that keeps them from getting too physically exhausting. Dishes math is a real thing. So I used to think doing the dishes was an hours long job, right? And so it was exhausting. It was daunting. I put it off because I was like, I don't have time for that right now, because I thought doing the dishes was this big thing. But when I started doing them every day, I realized, oh, doing one day's worth of dishes is only 15 minutes. I always thought, well, if it takes me 5 hours to do 4 days worth of dishes, then that means doing the dishes every day would be an hour and 15 minutes. And I don't have an hour and 15 minutes of time or energy to focus on the dishes every day. That was wrong. Like, that's not how it works. So 1 day's worth of dishes takes 15 minutes. 2 days worth of dishes doesn't take twice that. It takes like an hour, because there's so much moving around and like everything doesn't fit into one load. 3 days worth of dishes takes hours again. So as close as you can get to the finish line on this, or doing as many as you can until you get to this finish line, then even if it takes spurts throughout a day of getting everything done, then the next day just do the 1 day's worth of dishes and time yourself as you do 1 day's worth of dishes. And then the next day do 1 day's worth of dishes. And then you'll be like, oh, I haven't even felt guilty for the last 24 hours. That's a new feeling, right? And time yourself again. So time yourself doing 1 day's worth of dishes and see the impact and the power of that. Okay. I have a question about your no mess method. I was cleaning. I'm trying to do this so my face shows a little bit better. Oh, there you see my cup. I was cleaning off a shelf in a bookcase. It was full of mostly vases. I wanted to take all the vases off the shelf so I could wash it. I have many vases. Then I put some of my favorite ones back. Then my time was done. I still had several vases on the table and no time left to decide where they go. So I left a bit of a mess. Your advice. Yeah. So the first thing I would do is, before you set to go clean it, I would go through the decluttering process. And I know it's like, oh, but it's all vases. And yet go through the process anyway, just to see if there's some stuff you can get rid of. Okay. So, is there anything in here that's trash? Oh, actually that one's cracked, or that one is, whatever. Okay. Then the next step would be easy stuff. Is there anything in here that hasn't a stuff? Oh, that one, right? That's not actually a vase. That's a thing. And that actually goes over. So you get that out. So that you're not dealing and messing with as many things. Okay. Because I'm never going to tell you to pull everything out. And then, any that are just a donation in here, any of the ones here that I'm like, you know what? I never use that one. I don't like that one. So whatever, get those things out just to reduce what you're actually dealing with. And then, embrace the reality of the space. So that means, is this completely usable? And if you can't clean it without pulling everything off, which even still, I would say pull a few off and just clean that, put those back, pull another few, clean that and pull that back. But if it makes it hard to clean, then you may need to have fewer so that you can more easily clean, just moving one at a time, right? And so going through that process. I don't know. Did that make any sense? I'm not sure. Let's see. Any tips for digital decluttering? I don't trust the cloud. I don't know anything about clouds as far as like whether people, I'm not going to be the advice giver on that. I will tell you, I just recorded a video on deleting a bunch of Gmail at once. I also have a blog post about that. But I also don't have a lot of digital decluttering stuff, but I can delete a bunch of email at one time, because I can also end up with a bunch of email at one time. Would you say your clutter threshold has changed as your kids have gotten older and moved out? Yes, in that things naturally don't get quite as bad when there's fewer people living here. But at the same time, I think that as I embraced my clutter threshold when they were younger and everybody was here, I just kind of embraced how nice it was to not have as much stuff to deal with. And so now I don't want as much stuff to deal with. Now, well, I will say that, like, as far as decor and display, some of that kind of stuff, I am a little more willing to give things a try than I did before because there are fewer people to bump into things, But I would say I kind of just learned to enjoy having less stuff, and so it really hasn't occurred to me to have more stuff because the kids aren't here. I don't know. It's my lousy cup, but my kids gave it to me, right? Okay, I am going to take a couple more questions, but then I have to go. Okay, I'm just going to say this real quick. I'm sorry, but because it's a new one, I would do a couple of things. I would run it pushing all the buttons, like pots and pans, super scrubber, blah, blah, blah. I would make sure that you are using the tabs or pods dish stuff that's more expensive. I know it's more expensive, and that goes against everything in the frugal part of me, except that when I was told that by the people at the Maytag Labs, that's where the science has gone, was into those little things. And I started using those more expensive things. I was like, well, this gets my dishes so much cleaner that I don't even care that I'm paying another 2 cents or whatever per load. It was well worth it for me. So I would just try those things. Let's see. My next book, the first part of it is done. It has been turned in. I'll get my first round of edits back next month. So, okay. Looking for one more question. How do you balance a low threshold when you still like the things you have and have space for, but it's just too much? I think it's kind of like I was talking about just now. Like, having less stuff has made me appreciate how much easier life is with less stuff. So that's one of the main reasons why I say to start invisible areas, is you will experience the power of living in a space with less stuff, of not tripping on things as often, as not bumping into things as often, not having to dust as much, not having to move as much, the more you experience that, this stuff that you're like, I like that thing. I like my house being easier to manage more than I like that thing. I can like that thing and not have it in my house. So that mindset shift is really, really powerful. Okay, I'm going to have to stop there, but I will maybe talk to y'all next week. I'm not for sure, because it's like spring break era right now in my home with different people with different spring breaks and all that. So I'm not for sure, but I will talk to y'all another time. Bye, y'all.